Okay. Well, I'm working all weekend, and I've got an early start tomorrow morning, which means I can't go out tonight. So here I am doing the Impact review on a Friday night when we'd all rather be out doing other things. Just the way it goes sometimes, I guess. Sorry there was no notice about this, but I really didn't think anyone would show up. It's Friday night. We all got better things to do. Well, most of us do anyway. Alright, so let's talk about wrestling. And as you can see from the title, I've got a little bit of a rant stored up for this one. But first things first, our show on August the 10th, Impact from August the 10th, begins with LAX brawling in the backstage parking lot area, whatever the fuck it is. They're brawling with the Veterans of War. So we see that there's a chance that we might actually see the tag team champions fighting an actual tag team tonight. Wow, what a concept, huh? So, we got that to whet our appetites, okay. But the show proper begins in the ring with Sienna. So the Knockouts are opening the show this week, which is a nice change of pace. So Sienna's in the ring. She's got her belts, hanging on the ropes there, and she's got a chair, and she's just hanging out there with a microphone. And she wants to know who her opponent is for Destination X, because Karen Jarrett has been making some noise backstage about, I've got a big surprise for you, Sienna. So she's done with all the bullshit. She just wants to know who her opponent is. Good promo, and I've said this before, but if there's one person who's really benefited from Maria leaving, it's Sienna. Because when Maria was there, Sienna was always in the back seat. She was just the muscle. She almost never got a chance to talk because Maria was always front and center. Now that Maria's gone, it's definitely hurt Allie's push because that was Allie's main antagonist. But for Sienna, it means that a spot opened up for like the top heel in the knockout division, and Sienna just fit into that heel, especially since Rosemary turned face. And now Sienna gets mic time. She actually gets featured regularly where the focus is on her and not like the person she's standing behind. So she's really taken this opportunity and run with it. So she's been doing a great job. So where there's chaos, there's opportunity, I guess. Still wish Maria hadn't left though, because she was doing great stuff. But anyway, good promo from Sienna. So Karen Jarrett comes out because fuck knows we can't go too long without Karen Jarrett getting on TV because I guess she told Jeff that he's sleeping on the couch if she doesn't get TV time. So Karen's just so fucking smug about what's about to happen. So she gets in Sienna's face and she introduces her opponent at Destination X and she brings out Gail Kim. Okay. So Bruce Pritchard says that he doesn't like people just being handed opportunities, and then Gail Kim shows up and gets handed a title shot. Now, if Gail is getting this title shot by virtue of being the former Knockouts champion who had to relinquish the title because of an injury last year, okay, that makes sense. But they never said that's why she was getting it. It's just Gail Kim shows up and gets a title shot because she's Gail Kim. So, anyway, Gail gets on the mic, and she says that not only does she plan to win the Knockouts title, she plans to retire with the Knockouts title. I really, really hope that is not the plan. Not only would that be really selfish, but it also makes your entire Knockout roster look weak. When a woman retires with their title and they can't they can't get their heat back. They can't get the title back. That doesn't help the Knockouts. It helps Gail, but it actually hurts the rest of the division. So I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry. Gail should do the right thing for business and put somebody over on her way out. But, as we all know, Gail doesn't really like doing that, so to be continued. So it breaks down, and they start brawling, and it's a pretty good brawl, actually. They get separated by security, and that's the end of the segment for now. As an angle, this worked. It sets up the match nicely enough. I do think there was a more interesting way to do this, though. It seems like they wanted Gail to come back as, like, the conquering hero, House of Fire type or whatever, because it's Gail Kim. How else are they going to portray her? But if she could still play that role, she wouldn't be retiring. So it doesn't really make sense to do it that way. In my opinion, it's a lot more interesting if you have Gail be the underdog now. We know she's retiring at the end of the year because of injuries, so why not do something with that? Why not play up that? Maybe do an angle where Gail comes back and she's not 100% anymore. Hell, she's been out since October with a back injury. It's not hard to imagine that she would come back and not be the same as she used to be. Before the injury, she was always so untouchable, but then she hurts her back. She's out for a long time. She comes back, and now it's a real struggle for her to face somebody like Sienna because that resilience that Gail used to have is gone now. Maybe the doctors told her not to come back at all. They advised her, you can't do it. You're putting your health at risk. Maybe she's risking an even worse injury every time she gets in the ring. But she's so determined to have one last run, one last shot at the title, that she doesn't care because it just means that much to her. Suddenly, Gail's quest for one last title reign is a lot more compelling than her just wanting to retire with the title because she doesn't care about the division being made to look like shit after she's gone. There's more reason to get behind Gail. It actually gives her some kind of a mountain to climb, some kind of a struggle to overcome. It just seems like that would be a more interesting way to go, if you ask me. And then we have something, after this, we have something that's becoming more and more common on this show lately. A random match with no story that was booked for the sole purpose of pimping talent from other companies. And in this case, putting said talent over members of the Active Impact roster as well. Because that makes sense to management somehow. I couldn't tell you why. So we've got Laredo Kid and Garza Jr. versus El Hijo de Fantasma. I'm butchering that name so badly. And Naomichi Marufuji. There was one funny moment where the other team got booed for stopping Garza Jr. from taking his pants off. I got a chuckle out of that. And, it's a good match, but so what? Really? So what? There's no feud here, no storyline, no consequence for who wins or loses, no reason to root for one team over the other aside from the fact that one of them are actually members of the roster and one isn't. Really, no reason for this match to exist at all. Except, I guess, to make members of your own roster look inferior to wrestlers from Noah or AAA or wherever the hell they came from. So why should I care about this? Why should anyone care about this match? The segment was a throwaway. They could have devoted this segment to an angle that actually progressed something, that actually matters. I don't know, like finally getting Rosemary's reaction to losing the Knockouts Championship, which we still haven't fucking gotten. Or continuing the Alley Braxton Sutter breakup angle, or something. But instead, they just threw this pointless filler match out there because the writers were too damn lazy to actually do their jobs and write something interesting. This match was a waste of time. I'm sorry. I feel bad because the wrestlers worked hard. They delivered a good match. It's not their fault. They were just given nothing to work with. It was a waste of time, and quite frankly, I've already devoted more attention to it than it deserves, so let's just move on. And unfortunately, what we're moving on to is a Grado segment. Okay. I'm just gonna put this right here. Gonna need this. Yeah. Gonna need this later. I'm just gonna keep that where it'll be handy. Right there. So, anyway. We have a handicap match. Grado and Joseph Park teaming up against Congo Kong. Okay, seriously. I want to know if the writers were all sitting on the toilet when they booked this segment. Because this segment was the biggest piece of shit you were likely to see on any wrestling show this week. The one good thing that happened here is that Grado lost his match. But even that was tainted because Joseph Park was the one who ate the pin for their team, so I can't even enjoy that. Shit. Okay, well, let's really examine what happened here, okay? First, why the fuck is Grado even there? Last week, the announcers basically said that Grado was out of time. His work visa was about to expire, he needed to get married, and he needed to get married real fast or he was getting deported. This week, he's still there. He's not in some mad rush to find Laurel Van Ness and get some shotgun wedding or anything. He's just acting normally and having a regular match like none of that stuff even matters. So apparently they just reset the clock. So right out of the gate, the continuity sucks. So after Grado loses this match, Congo Kong beats the shit out of him and Joseph Park. He's about to flatten both of them like a fucking pancake. LVN actually runs out to save Grado's sorry ass, stops Congo Kong, defends Grado from Kong, slaps Kong in the face, and then when Kong gets pissed off with LVN, grabs her, is about to do something to her, Grado decides to just fuck off because the physical well-being of the woman he's trying to marry doesn't seem to mean shit to him, and then she gets saved by Tyrus of all people. What the... What? What the fuck is going on? What? Why does the bodyguard of the heel authority figure give a crap about this? None of this makes any sense. And then to top it all off, when Tyrus gets in Kong's face, Kong actually backs down. So this guy that you've been trying to build up as a monster destroyer ass kicker type backs down from a jobber who never wins matches because the woman who just slapped him in the face, who he looked like he was about to rough up, told him to. It's almost as if they're writing this horribly on purpose. Because I don't know how a storyline this bad could possibly happen by accident. And let's really consider how Grado is acting here, alright? First, he wants to get a green card to stay in America by marrying a Canadian citizen in the country on a work visa. So, number one, he's fucking stupid. Putting that aside, after every other woman turns him down, he decides to focus on LVN, a woman who is mentally unbalanced, has a huge drinking problem, and is clearly in a very vulnerable state, but actually does seem to like him regardless. And instead of simply being upfront and honest with her about this problem that he has and just asking for her help, he proceeds to manipulate her, toy with her feelings, make her think that he does like her back when really she creeps him out and he's just using her to get the green card. Then he makes her think that he wants to marry her. So, number two, he's an asshole. On a properly written show, everyone would be calling Grado an insensitive, manipulative bastard. And then, right after she's saved him from a huge beating, stood up to this monster Congo Kong and is about to get her ass kicked herself just because she tried to help him, Grado is suddenly nowhere to be seen, leaving LVN to be saved by some completely random dude. So on top of being an idiot and an asshole who's treating a mentally ill alcoholic like shit, he's also a fucking coward. Grado is the biggest heel on this show. It's almost comical how horrible of a person he is. But the writers seem completely clueless about it. He keeps doing all these awful things, and yet they're portraying him as this lovable goofball that we're all supposed to like, and it's so bad. It's so bad. I mean, Josh Matthews was dropping a bunch of truth bombs on commentary during this segment about how terribly Grado is treating Laurel. He's like, oh, he doesn't love Laurel, he just wants to stay in America. And you know what? Josh is absolutely fucking right. That is exactly what Grado is doing. We're not supposed to agree with the heel announcer when he points this shit out, but here we are. And the funny thing is, it seemed like JB really wanted to agree with Josh, but he was acting like he had somebody in his ear telling him not to. So JB is like, oh, the two of them are conspiring to get Grado married to Laurel Van Ness. After what she's been through, well, I mean, obviously it's a very delicate situation, but... And then he just trails off. See, JB is no dummy. I guarantee you he knows how fucked up this is, but he's got the handcuffs on him so he can't say anything. Jesus Christ, this was awful. Absolutely fucking awful. And here's the part that really blows my mind, okay? During this segment, Gail Kim was on Twitter, and she's tweeting gifs of Grado, like, ha ha, he's so funny and all that shit. I tweeted her in response, asking why she likes Grado when he runs away while the woman he's trying to marry is about to get broken in half by the guy she just protected him from. You know, it's all in kayfabe, but, you know. She tweeted me back. She's like, yeah? So I asked her why. I'm like, you're someone who's always sticking up for the knockouts, so why are you on board with this? Why would you be okay with Grado treating any woman like this? She tweeted me back one more time, basically saying that she had no idea what I was talking about. The fact that, kayfabe-wise, Grado is a piece of trash masquerading as a human being was completely lost on her. She didn't get it. And this is a woman who's on the creative team. Yeah. It's been reported that Gail has basically taken over that Christy Hemme Madison Rain spot backstage, so it's very distressing to me that someone who has creative input into the show doesn't even comprehend why this is so terrible. But hey, Congo Kong is going to feud with Tyrus now, so it's not so bad that it can't get worse. Yay? So afterwards, we have another Lashley video package about, should he choose MMA over wrestling, or should he do both? And, these videos have been well made. I just wonder if this is actually going somewhere. I'm wondering what you can really do with an angle about teasing if one of your biggest stars might leave the company to focus on MMA. What's to be gained from doing this? I'm not sure. Well-produced video, though. It's good stuff. Then we have a sit-down interview with Dutch Mantel, because we got to get all the authority figures on the show now. Because if Pritchard ain't there, then Karen and Dutch got to pick up a slack, because God forbid we have a show without multiple authority figures. So Dutch is talking to Lashley and Matt Sydal. So it's the final hype for their match at Destination X. And honestly, this was probably the best thing on the show. There were no asinine plot holes or stupid writing that a 3-year-old could pick apart. It's just two guys with a simple issue between them that's relatable and easy to understand. I thought the production was really good. The editing and the music were effective. Good performances from both guys. I thought Sydal held his own verbiage-wise, and Lashley was downright chilling at certain moments, especially at the end there. And they set up a good issue between them. Lashley views Sydal as just an X Division guy, and Sydal insists that he's a guy who transcends those type of boundaries and both guys made some good points. So the angle seems designed to push Matt Sydal out of the X Division and into the upper card, and I'm not against that at all. I think he could pull it off, so yeah, I mean, really good stuff here. Good, really nice segment. Best thing on the show, probably. And then we go back to the ring for LAX versus the Veterans of War, which apparently is a street fight, which I'm pretty sure was not on the graphic when they announced the match. So Conan just comes out and says, yeah, it's a street fight, because God forbid we announced that ahead of time, right? Nice to see LAX actually facing a tag team instead of having their manager feud with the world champion. Yeah, this is the kind of thing you expect your tag team champions to do in your tag team division. But the second Conan said that it was a street fight, you knew how this was going to go. It's only a matter of time before the other members of LAX get involved and gang up on VOW. I just found it kind of strange that they even bothered waiting at all and didn't just gang up on them the second the bell rang. You figured there'd just be a big dog pile on both of them, there were a couple decent moments in the match, I guess, but the finish was a foregone conclusion, so that kind of sucked a lot of the excitement out of it for me. And afterwards, we have the Super X Cup tournament. Second match of the semifinals, we have ACH versus Taiji Ishimori. Oh, God, these names. My dyslexia hurts. Anyway, so ACH versus Taiji Ishimori. There's not a lot to say about it other than it was another really good match. Ishimori wins. I would have gone with ACH on that one. But, it's not like either of them were bad. Just thought, ACH had a little more charisma and personality to him. But Ishimori wins, then Desmond Xavier comes off, and they shake hands in front of the cheap-looking trophy. So you get that photo op there. And that's your final hype for that match. And, I'm expecting it to be a great match. And, hopefully Desmond Xavier will win the tournament because he's the guy on the actual roster, facing the guy from Pro Wrestling Noah, I think. Hopefully Xavier will win. That'll be a nice little rub for him. That's good. I like Desmond Xavier. Other than that, not much to say. There's only so many ways you can say, wow, that was a great match when there's no real story attached to it. It's just a tournament for a trophy, not bad stuff at all. Certainly not. Which brings us to our main event. A six-man tag. Trevor Lee, Low Key, and Lashley versus Sanjay Dutt, Matt Sydal, and Alberto El Patron. Another fun match here. Fun main event. There was a really cool spot when Sydal did that super standing Frankensteiner on, I think it was Trevor Lee. He was standing on Sanjay's shoulders in the top turnbuckle. That was really cool. I think Sydal may have separated his shoulder on that spot though. So appreciate the effort though. So fun match, cool spot, and the heels end up winning clean when Low Key pins Sanjay after the Warriors Way. So 1 week out from Destination X, Matt Sydal is getting the star treatment, calling himself the best in the X Division, while he feuds with the former world champion, and the actual X Division champion Sanjay Dutt is getting pinned by a guy he's not even feuding with anymore, while another man walks around with his title belt. It's becoming pretty clear that outside of India, the writers don't really have a vested interest in booking Sanjay like a strong champion. Not really surprised, but I do kind of feel bad for the guy. So that's another impact in the books, and to be honest, it really feels like the writers are just phoning this show in right now. The in-ring action continues to be good, but a lot of the storylines, such as they are, seem pretty half-assed and obviously didn't have much actual thought put into them at all. You've got Low Key joining LAX to feud with Alberto El Patron because of some really vague reason that they barely took any time to explain, and which seemed paper-thin at best. They keep throwing out these random filler matches just to kill time or promote talent from other companies at the expense of their own talent. Meanwhile, actual homegrown stars like EC3 and Eli Drake don't even appear on the show consistently right now, and you're sure as hell not going to move the needle that way. One positive I will say about this one is that Bruce Pritchard did not appear. When he's on the show, it grinds to a screeching halt, but he stayed backstage this time, so the episode ended up flowing a lot better than it has the last couple of weeks. But overall, man, this creative team needs help. I'm sorry, they need help. Problem is, the writers are all Jeff Jarrett's cronies, so he's not about to make any changes there. I guess we have to wait for Ed Nordholm to get frustrated with the stagnant viewership and call an audible. Until then, this is what we've got. Could be worse, but it could be a lot better, too. Grado is a douchebag. Too many outside wrestlers? Yeah. Defenders drops Friday. Will you be doing a stream? I'll talk about it if somebody asks me. I might give my thoughts on that, yeah. Gonna have to work on Saturday, though. So, gonna have to wait to binge watch it. I heard GFW is doing a week-long tapings for the next 3 months. Yeah, apparently they're taping 12 weeks of television in 6 days. That is going to be rough. Rough on the talent, and God, that crowd is going to be so fucking dead. God, of all the times to do a giant marathon TV taping, you do it for the build-up to what's supposed to be your biggest show of the year, thus ensuring that your crowd is going to be like in a fucking coma by the time when it's time for Bound for Glory. You couldn't have done that maybe earlier in the year? Oh, wow, that is bad fucking timing. I don't know what they're thinking with that. No idea. Didn't even pay attention to the main event, and am I wrong for doing that? No, you're not wrong. I didn't really. I had trouble paying attention to the random tag match. You need a good reason to be invested. Sometimes there just isn't one, because these writers are not. Honestly, these writers are really dropping the ball in that regard right now. They're getting lazy. Gail should put over Sienna a couple of times, then win the title, and then put Allie over in her last match. That would be the classy thing to do. In my opinion, I don't think Gail needs to win the title again. I don't see what's to be gained by doing that. I guess you could say it's a show of respect for everything she's done for women's wrestling in general. You can make that argument, okay. But Sienna just won the belt, man. I mean, her first title reign ended up playing second fiddle to the Gail Kim Maria stuff last year. Now, she just won the title a second time. She's doing really well as a character. She's starting to connect as a heel. And then you bring Gail back, and God, if Gail's going to win the title, at least don't have her win it immediately. Christ, at least let Sienna get over on her a couple times first. But honestly, I'm skeptical that they'll even let her do that much. I mean, Sienna's got to get something out of this. Because if they just have Gail win the title right back, it's like, wow, they really shit on Sienna a second time here. And they don't have the luxury of doing that because right now it's really important that they establish and build up the women that are going to have to carry this division after Gail retires, which is not far off. I mean, she says she's done at the end of the year. Well, the end of the year is a lot closer than they fucking think. That's what, 6 months? What are we in now? What, fucking in August? Less than 6 months away from Gail's retirement. So, it's a much more pressing concern that you make sure this division is going to be able to walk on its own after Gail leaves. Gail doesn't need to be put over anymore. You've done that for a long time, and now you got to put over the other girls. So, you can make an argument for Gail getting one last hurrah with the title. Okay, but when she retires, for God's sake, Gail, do the classy thing. Do the right thing for business and put somebody over. Drop that belt to somebody else before you leave. Put over the next generation. Because it's their division now. Okay. The Grado shit this week was so fucking shit, now Tyrus is involved. Oy. Let's hope after Destination X, the company changes, the direction of the company changes, because there needs to be some major changes with the direction. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think there's going to be any major changes unless they get some major changes to the writing team. Because these writers are just not getting the job done. They don't pay attention to the smaller details, and they're really slacking off. And shows like this prove how much they're slacking off. We had a couple of these in a row now. It's like they do a big angle, and then they just don't really follow up. They don't care about keeping the show compelling on a weekly basis. It's like, well, we did one cool thing, so we can just chill out for a while until it's time to pay it off, No, that's not good enough. You have to keep things compelling every week. They're not doing that. They're not doing their jobs, but like I said, they're all Jeff Jarrett's buddies, so they're not going anywhere. So what the fuck do we do? We're just stuck with it. I got a lot of issues with Vince McMahon, but I'll give him credit for one thing. If he thinks one of his people isn't doing their jobs, that person is out the fucking door. Can I get your thoughts on Josh Matthews as a heel commentator? He really makes the show unbearable to watch sometimes for me. Honestly, I think Josh is better as a heel commentator. Well, he was... he really was not... Some tongue-tied all of a sudden. As a generic babyface commentator, he was lacking so many things. He was underselling a lot of stuff. He was just not an interesting presence in the announce booth. As a heel commentator, at least he has a personality. And I was actually really enjoying his work during the Grado segment because he was pointing out all the flaws in this thing. He's saying, oh yeah, I mean, he was playing the heel persona and we're not supposed to agree with him, but in actuality, he comes off like the only person who's talking sense. Because he's the only person who's calling out Grado's shit for the shit that it is. So I actually really appreciated Josh Matthews during that segment. And, they've toned down the booking announcers thing so it's not really, taking me out of the show anymore. It's not really annoying anymore. I think Josh Matthews is okay right now. I laugh every time you rant about Grado. I'm glad I could help. Okay. El Patronus champion so far hasn't interested me. When LAX first came back, I was pumped, but now the feud with Patron now is bringing low key. I'm sorry, this feud is shit. It does kind of feel like the low key thing was kind of an improvised move. I highly doubt that was the plan from the beginning. Like somewhere along the way, they realized, oh wait, he's feuding with a manager of a tag team. This doesn't really work. We got to remedy this somehow. Do we have any other stars that are Hispanic? Well, we got Low Key. I think some people thought he was Asian. Some people think he's black, but we could say he's Hispanic. What is he, like a quarter Puerto Rican or something? Yeah, it's close enough. Yeah, I agree. It could have been a lot. This thing could have been a lot better. My hope is that LVN leaves Grado at the altar and just goes back to her old gimmick. Um, I want her to go back to her old gimmick too. I don't think it's enough that she leaves Grado at the altar. Now, the way this has gone, they've got to, if they want to redeem this. I mean, Grado has either got to realize the error of his ways and kind of try to redeem himself by being a better person, or he's got to pay some big fucking huge comeuppance. I want him to pay a fucking comeuppance. I want to do a double turn where Grado just turns out to be like an asshole, like a total asshole. Like maybe they get all the way to the altar, and then suddenly when Laurel is reading her, is doing her vows, she mentions that she's a Canadian. Like who would have thought that some little girl from Canada would have like the wedding of her dreams on national TV? And he's like, wait a minute, you're Canadian? Hey Joseph, can I get an American green card by marrying a Canadian? I can't. Oh, awkward. Yeah, okay, let's just call this whole thing off. Hey, Laurel, yeah. No hard feelings, right? Okay, I'm gonna fuck off now. And then she just grabs him and just like kicks him in the nuts like 50 times. And then he just realizes what the hell just happened and like, how the hell did I get in this situation? And then she snaps out of it and goes back to her old persona. But yeah, he's got to pay some kind of comeuppance for this. He's a bastard. They can't have him get off scot-free after doing all this shit. They can't. When the fuck will we see the new belts? I'm assuming Destination X, but don't quote me on it. Yes, this Grado stuff isn't making any sense. Mm-hmm. Ever since they taped a month and a half of TV, you can clearly see they have no direction. I'm happy the matches go for a good while, but it's just random matches always. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Did you know Marvel is releasing a Star Wars Mace Windu comic book miniseries this month? Yeah, I didn't know, but honestly, I'm kind of boycotting Marvel right now. I'm not reading any Marvel books right now because, well, frankly, Marvel's comics division is the drizzling shits these days. Like so many of their books, not all of them, but most of them seem like they're just polluted with all this political commentary and all this like bullshit SJW feminist propaganda, and like so many of them are terrible. I mean, I'm seeing reviews like every week on here of people just bashing these comics, and like so many of these new characters are so fucking bad. Like Riri Williams is awful. I don't know. Kamala Khan started out as a character I liked, but now it's like she's turning into this like SJW avatar now, and we still got Girl Thor. Yeah, they haven't fixed Iceman yet. He's still they're still doing that shit where Jean Grey gaslighted him into thinking he was gay. So now he's still gay now. I got no problem with people being gay, but the way they did that was just completely fucked up. And I don't know. It's just Marvel's comics division just sucks right now. They got to get Axel Alonso and Tom Brevoort out of there. They are ruining that fucking company. Their comics are selling like shit. Not surprising when they're doing titles like America Chavez. Oh god, these books are so terrible. So bad. Yeah, that turned into a little bit of a rant. I'm sorry. But yeah, long story short, I'm not reading Marvel comics right now. The Impact Asylum forum, they want the company to be sports centric instead of story driven. WWE light company. Well, so they want the company to be ROH. Well, they're not going to get any. They're not going to get anywhere that way. So instead of WWE Light, they want the company to be ROH Light. That doesn't make sense. And storylines are important. I'm sorry, they are. That's just the way the business has evolved. You got to give the fan a good match doesn't cut it anymore. Because we've all seen that. We know what a good match looks like. You need to have a good match supported by interesting characters and a compelling story. That's what's going to hook people. Just having a match is like it's just part of the equation. It's not even half of the equation anymore. And there's so many more nuances that go into the business because it's evolved. It's not nearly as simple as it was back when the current writing team may have been a lot more effective. It's not the same as it was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. Storylines are important. You gotta have good stories everywhere. You can't have something happen on the show for no reason. You can't. Everything's gonna happen for a fucking reason. That means story. Company has no faith in relying on their own stars, and they don't say, well, they may Patron the champ because the ratings, yet Impact still scores low. He is not drawing anyone. Yeah, that's true. And that's what happens when your writers are phoning in the show. When you phone in the show isn't compelling and people don't watch. Especially when there are many other things available for them to watch, like, for example, football. This time of year is when the writers gotta be bringing their fucking A game, because given a choice of pro wrestling or football, most people are gonna choose football. I'm not even a football fan, and I can cop to that. Okay. Option C is dead. Yeah. Boy, ain't that... Boy, isn't that ironic? When they finally got the perfect guy to do the story of he's presented with option C and he chooses not to cash in. They finally got the perfect guy to do that with, and then that's the year when they kill option C. It's another wasted opportunity, just right down the drain. Why would you not want to do something like that? You want to really put the X Division over, that's the way to do it. The guy, he can't give up he refuses to give up the X Division title because it means everything to him. It's more important to him than a shot at the World Championship. Something like that would put the X Division over. So instead, they don't do it. No, instead they want to do a story about the X Division champion getting his belt stolen. Ugh. Dutch Mantel interview segment makes me want the whole show to be like this instead of having in-ring promos every week. Well, I like in-ring promos, but you're not wrong. That was a really compelling segment with the way they produced it and the way it was performed and all that stuff. If they wanted to adopt a style similar to that for the rest of the show, I'd be on board with that. Shit. Lost my place again. Okay. I got no problem with the creative team having an old school taste, but they need a younger voice in the creative team who knows wrestling, not sports entertainment. I just think they needed a younger voice, period, who knows how to relate to the younger fans, because right now their primary writer is a guy in his 60s. And I tend to think that Dutch Mantel has his head screwed on straight most of the time, but he doesn't know how to appeal to the newer generation of fans. He just doesn't have that mindset. You need somebody. They need a young writer, basically. And who do they have that can relate to those fans? I mean, the youngest guy with any creative input is probably Sanjay. I don't know that Sanjay is a creative writer. I mean, the booking of the X Division matches has certainly improved since he showed up, and I think he's handling that stuff now. But is Sanjay a creative writer? I don't know. Saw you and Gail Kim were having a conversation on Twitter about Grado and LVN. Gail Kim might be writing this angle. It wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me either. She's a big mark for Grado. God knows why. Is it true that John Morrison is signed? No official confirmation yet, but that seems to be the way the wind is blowing. I don't know how the hell they'll fit him in. I mean, they don't have enough screen time to accommodate the people they already have. Now we got Johnny Mundo coming in too. Where they going to fit him in? Is one more person to push Eli Drake even more to the side? I'm not happy about that. I was never big on John Morrison to begin with. The guy can definitely wrestle, but a lot of people can do that. I always thought the guy was overrated, personally. Marty Bell playing Domino at her psychic Anthony. I didn't make that connection, but yeah, that kind of does look like what happened, huh? To hear Riz Ahmed from Rogue One was cast in the Venom movie. Yeah, I heard about that. Playing a Marvel character? Well, I'd like to think he's not playing Carnage, because Carnage is like as skinny as skinny as hell, pale as a sheet ginger. That's a big part of his look. Riz Ahmed, I like the guy, but he's not Cletus Cassidy. He's not. But does it really fucking matter? I keep telling you guys, every time it comes up, I'm telling you, that movie is going to suck. All the warning signs are there. I mean, they pretty much confirmed that Spider-Man will not be appearing in it. I mean, Amy Pascal is trying to do damage control, saying, oh, there's a chance he might be in it. But, the writing's on the fucking wall. So they're doing a Venom origin movie without Spider-Man, which basically means they got to change the whole origin, because there's no way you can do a proper Venom origin without Spider-Man being involved. On top of that, they're putting fucking Carnage in there. And they are skipping so much backstory. I mean, Venom alone is a character that requires a lot of backstory to set up. I mean, ideally, you'd want to set that up over multiple movies. They're just doing a Venom solo movie cold. Okay? They're rushing the production. They want to put it into production in a couple of months. I think September or something. So they want to start shooting it soon. They've got a director that's known for doing comedy. Amy Pascal even hinted that the movie might end up being a comedy. They're not going to have Spider-Man being involved. And, no, all the warning signs are there. Fuck Venom. It's going to suck. Don't go see it. Don't give Sony their money. I want that movie to be a fucking disaster. I want them to lose $100 million on that movie. And Silver and Black, I want that movie to fucking tank also. So finally, Sony is losing so much money that they got no choice but to sell the Spider-Man rights back to Marvel just so they can recoup their losses. So finally, maybe eventually, Marvel can get the reins back and we can have a real Venom movie done properly. It's the best thing that could happen. Don't get your hopes up about Venom. Don't. I'm telling you. Don't do it. It's gonna suck. I'm calling it. How are you liking the GFW era? Personally, it's 50-50. Good matches, but the lack of direction and too many new names to the point where it seems like it's just a bunch of jobbers. Well, you just answered your own question. The actual wrestling is good, but creative, they're pretty rudderless. They don't seem to know where they're going, and they're not. The writers are clearly not putting in much effort to find a direction. So it's definitely kind of a 50-50 situation. Who do you think will die in Avengers Infinity War? Well, I think Captain America. Possibly. Chris Evans said he only signed up for Infinity War because it was going to bring closure to the whole thing, so I think Captain America dying is a pretty good bet. I wouldn't be surprised if Iron Man did. It kind of seems like they're setting him up for something. Because they had the big falling out with Cap, and he had a really tough time, and him and Pepper broke up. But then, spoiler alert, they got back together, and they're maybe getting engaged. So it seems like, things are coming together again for Tony, and things are going well for him. And yeah, it's kind of seems like he's being set up for a fall there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Iron Man died. But yeah, they probably one of those two. Wouldn't either one would surprise me. When you check out SummerSlam this year, maybe. I'd check it out. I don't have a whole lot of interest in it, to be honest with you. Marvel don't care about the comics anymore, just the movies. Live action TV and TV cartoons, everyone knew it would happen when Disney bought them. Yeah. Although, an argument could be made that they don't really care about their cartoons either. Frankly, Marvel's cartoon division ain't so good. I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man was terrible. They got that new Spider-Man cartoon that looks better than Ultimate Spider-Man, but it doesn't look nearly as good as Spectacular Spider-Man was. I've never really been impressed with any Marvel animated property. And not one that Marvel produced. Not counting like X-Men the Animated Series or Spectacular Spider-Man or Wolverine and the X-Men. Those were good shows. But the ones that Marvel produces, I don't know, just seems like they're not trying. It just doesn't make sense to me. Not every match needs a story behind it. Disagree. I'm not saying it needs to have like a super in-depth story. It can be something as simple of fighting for a #1 contendership, or something like that. But it needs to have some kind of a reason to exist. Some kind of a reason, no matter how small. Johnny Mundo learned how to talk in Lucha Underground. I certainly hope so, because he sure as hell had no fucking mic skills in WWE. All they care about is the movies and TV. Their cartoons suck. DC beats them to the punch on those. Yeah, the DC animation division is really second to none. They whoop Marvel's ass in animation. They really do. GFW needs new blood backstage. Yeah, well, the problem is Jeff Jarrett running the show, so he's just gonna surround himself with all his buddies, and he's a guy who wants what he wants, so he's probably not going to listen to any dissenting opinions. So unless Ed Nordholm gets in his face about this stuff, don't expect anything to change. Do you see Wonder Woman making $1 billion? It's almost at 800 million, but hasn't opened to Japan yet. I heard Frozen and Beauty and the Beast made 100 to 200 million over there. Some people are suggesting. In Japan, I don't know. I think China is the big overseas market for international box office. Has it opened in China yet? I'm not sure. Well, Wonder Woman's been out for a while. It's at 800 million now. I think it's got a shot at making $1 billion. They might have to add in like movies from like DVD, Blu-ray sales, and stuff like that. I think it could potentially hit $1 billion. I don't know if it'll happen like just from like box office receipts. Avengers 4 will see the new Avengers: Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Ant-Man, Wasp, Spider-Man, Captain America, Bucky. Don't see any of the other Avengers sticking around. Actually, I don't think Captain Marvel is in Avengers. Uh, I'm pretty sure she's not in Avengers 3. Not sure about 4. But they just started shooting that now. Actually, and I'm pretty sure now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's not in Avengers 3 and 4. Plus, they're saying that Captain Marvel is going to be a period piece set in the 1990s. So I'm not sure how they could do crossovers with her, unless it's what I think they're doing, which is have like maybe like the first part of the movie be Marvel coming to Earth and maybe deciding to pose as a human, like take human form and just like blend in and like, go incognito into the human populace to like study the humans or whatever. And then fast forward to present day when he meets Carol Danvers, and that's when she kind of, and that's when whatever happens, and she kind of like gains his powers and takes over as the new Captain Marvel. So maybe tell like an origin story of Marvel, and that's the part that's set in the 90s. So I think that could work. But setting the whole thing in the 90s, that seems kind of dumb. But I don't know. I mean, Marvel haven't fucked up on a movie yet, so they know what they're doing. Where does Angelina Love go from here? Well, I suspect we might not see much more of her. And I wouldn't expect her to be a major player in the division anymore. We haven't seen her since that feud ended. It doesn't seem like they have any major plans for her right now. Rating for this week's Impact, it's up. Yeah, by like 1,000 viewers. It's basically flat with last week. When Bayley comes back from an injury, do you think the writers will turn her heel? Anything's possible, but I doubt it. I think that would require some. That would require some self-awareness on that part that I'm not sure the writers are capable of. I mean, they seem pretty adamant about keeping her babyface. I mean, Christ, if they didn't turn John Cena heel after he was getting booed out of the building for fucking years. So, I'm not sure if they'd consider turning Bayley heel. It was announced that it was changed to a street fight on the TV card. They also announced it on commentary. Huh. Okay. Guess I missed that. Do you miss Billy Corgan? I miss his eagerness and willingness to think outside the box and not be beholden by certain traditions and tropes that a lot of these more traditional writers fall into. Like what we're seeing now is a very old school approach, and it doesn't seem like the current writers are trying to take any risks or do anything special or even really work that hard. I mean, Billy had a lot of out there ideas, and I'll admit not all of them worked. Like the 3-round point system grand championship thing, yeah, it's a dud. It doesn't work. Just end it. But Billy also had a lot of ideas that did work. I think the decay was his brainchild. No, I believe he had a lot of input into the final deletion and deleter decay and all that stuff. Plus, you could always tell when he produced a segment backstage because it always had his fingerprint on it. He was very auteur-esque in that way. He was a super creative guy, and it would have been awesome if they'd kept him around because I think he could have really helped. Because right now the creative team's got nobody in the writers' room that thinks outside the box, or like exists outside of that bubble that they're all finding themselves in. So, as a result, what we've got is a very very safe show for the most part that doesn't want to try breaking any boundaries or pushing any envelopes, and the creativity is lacking. And there's one thing that Billy definitely brought to the table. It was creativity. And all right, last question, and then we'll call it quits for the night. Because I gotta get up and stretch my legs. I am pro Silver and Black. Those characters can have their origin stories told and then meet Spider-Man later. Plus, Scorpion may be in the movie tying into the MCU, but the Venom movie looks like a mess. I am anti-Silver and Black. I think seeing Black Cat would be kind of cool in a movie, but I want to see it in a Spider-Man movie. You know, those characters are only really interesting in how they relate to Spider-Man. You know, seeing them on their... Neither of them have really been able to... have ever, like, carried a comic book on their own. I think maybe they might have been a Black Cat miniseries at one time or another. But I don't think Silver Sable's ever had her own series. I mean, these are like supporting characters to Spider-Man, and now you're suddenly giving them their own movie. It's such a cash grab. It's so obvious that Amy Pascal and Sony are just grasping at straws, trying to do any stupid thing they can think of to try to hold on to the Spider-Man license. And they're not doing it for the right reasons. They're not doing it because they think they can make it a great movie or because it makes sense to do that movie. They're doing it to just keep the fucking license. And I have zero confidence in that movie. I think that's going to suck too. Just like Venom is going to suck. Oh, but I'm sure a Mysterio movie makes sense to do, right? Or a Kraven the Hunter movie. Because those are solo characters, right? It's one cash grab after another. Okay. That's going to be it. I want to get up, walk around a little bit because I've been stuck inside all day, and I got to do some stuff before I get an early start tomorrow, so I got to clean up and shower and get ready for bed and eat and do a bunch of other things. So I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. Thanks for joining me. I also have to work next Saturday too, so I might do this again on Friday. I might do it on Sunday. I'm not sure yet. I think every Saturday for the rest of the month I'm working, so I don't know how that's gonna work out. I'll figure it out. So you guys will know when I know. And thanks for tuning in. And now let's all get back to whatever it is we'd rather be doing on this Friday night. Talk to you later.